Welcome to another episode of The Secret Life of Artifacts. Today we're going to be looking at this book, which was part of Westerville's very first library in the 1820s. Gideon Hart was an early settler from Connecticut who built a large frame house on Hempstead Road. He was an educated man and must have been quite a prolific reader because he had a collection of 142 books, and that was quite an extensive collection for the time. Based on the book's publication dates and the handwritten transcriptions inside, we know that at least some of them came with him from Connecticut. And if you've ever moved or had to pack up books, you know how heavy they are and how difficult they are to transport. Hart's dedication to moving them hundreds of miles over bumpy roads and through the wilderness shows us how much he valued knowledge and learning. From the book titles, we can tell he was interested in agriculture, medicine, religion, philosophy, and military practice. So I'm not wearing gloves today. Normally when we handle historic objects, we do wear gloves to prevent the chemicals on our hands from transferring to the object. But when you handle paper, you usually don't wear gloves because gloves take away some of your dexterity. And you don't know how strong you are, and it's hard to know if you're handling the paper gently enough or not. And it's very easy to tear when you're wearing gloves. So I will be gloveless today. And if we open up this book, you can tell that there's some staining and some dirt inside. And some of these stains would be from mold. Mold growth in historic book collections generally occurs when there's water damage or when there's high relative humidity. Relative humidity is the amount of water vapor that's in the air in relation to the total amount of water vapor that the air can hold at that point in time. You'll be quizzed on that later. Mold usually starts to grow when the relative humidity reaches or exceeds 70 or 75% for multiple days in a row. So the ideal relative humidity for most historic collections is about 50%. Mold is dangerous to old books because it releases acids and enzymes that feed on the cellulose that's in the paper, and over time it weakens the paper and even destroys it. And it can also result in the permanent stains that you see here. Professional conservators deactivate mold and prevent new growth by freeze drying them. Then the books are air dried, or sometimes conservators vacuum freeze dry them. That's when they lower the pressure in the freeze-dried chamber and introduce a heat source so the ice converts straight to vapor without going to a liquid form first. Any dry mold remnants can then be removed with a soft bristled brush, or you can also use a vacuum with a special air filter and a protective screen over the nozzle. So that's one of the reasons why it's so important to have proper environmental conditions in museums, so we can make sure that books like this one last for another 200 years. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another episode of The Secret Life of Artifacts.